All right, time to take a deep dive into these Indian startups, huh? We've got AI doctors, farm-to-fork logistics. Talk about variety.
It's incredible, isn't it? It really shows how dynamic the Indian startup scene is becoming.
Makes you wonder, are we seeing a shift away from just consumer apps? Are these startups aiming for something bigger, more global even?
That's the big question, isn't it? And I think looking at these funding rounds will give us some answers.
Okay, so let's jump right in then. First up, we've got Basic Home Loan, and their goal is pretty ambitious, making homeownership a reality, especially for those who've been traditionally overlooked.
Yeah, they're really trying to level the playing field, especially for those in smaller cities who often struggle to get loans from traditional lenders.
Right, exactly. They're using technology to make the whole process more efficient and accessible, and it seems to be working.
It really does. I mean, they've processed over $12 billion in loan applications since 2020. That's not a small feat.
That's wild. It's clear there's a huge demand for what they offer.
Absolutely. And it shows how fintech is changing the game, using data to reach those who've been underserved by traditional financial systems.
It's pretty revolutionary when you think about it. They're changing who gets access to financial stability.
Exactly. It's empowering people.
Okay, let's move from financial tech to something completely different, healthcare. And when I say healthcare, I mean AI-powered diagnosis with Qure.ai.
Now, this is a company doing some really impressive stuff. Their AI tools are already being used in over 90 countries.
90. That's incredible. They're already having a global impact.
And it's not just the geographic reach, it's the sheer number of sites using their tech, over 3,000 already.
It's like they're on a mission to make healthcare more efficient, more accurate everywhere.
Absolutely. And the fact that they're partnered with giants like AstraZeneca and Johnson & Johnson tells you a lot.
Oh, absolutely. That's huge. It means their tech is being taken seriously by the big players.
It really does. This isn't just some small startup finding its feet.
Yeah.
This is a company poised to potentially change healthcare as we know it.
It really makes you think, what will be the next big disruption? And speaking of disruption, let's talk about a company tackling one of humanity's oldest challenges, food, with WayCool.
Ah, yes, WayCool. They're all about creating a more efficient and sustainable farm-to-fork journey.
Which is a pretty massive undertaking when you think about all the moving parts. It's farming, logistics, supply chains, everything.
Absolutely. It's a sector that's ripe for innovation.
Yeah.
Because, let's be honest, the traditional methods aren't exactly perfect.
And it seems like WayCool is learning and adapting as they go, right? Didn't they pivot from a consumer-focused model to a business one?
They did, back in 2019, which I think speaks volumes about their ability to be agile and responsive to the market.
It takes guts to make a change like that, especially in such a complex industry.
It does, and the fact they secured new funding recently shows that investors see their potential.
It'll be fascinating to see how they continue to evolve and tackle the challenges of creating a truly sustainable food system. It really is amazing to see companies trying to make a difference in such a crucial area. But let's switch gears again, shall we? From sustainable farms to the world of software. Because up next we have Whatfix.
Ah, Whatfix. They're really making waves in the world of digital adoption platforms.
Digital adoption platforms, or DAPs as I like to call them, though I might be the only one. But seriously, this isn't just another software company. They're all about making software easier.
Which, let's be honest, is a challenge we've all faced at some point. Trying to navigate a new platform can be a nightmare.
Oh, tell me about it. But Whatfix? They're trying to change that. Think interactive guides, walkthroughs, anything that helps you actually use the software without wanting to throw your computer out the window.
And they're doing it well. They've seen a 4.5 times jump in annual recurring revenue since their last funding round. That's incredible growth.
It's mind-blowing. It shows there's a real need for what they offer. And it's not just luck. They've got a solid strategy.
Right. They're focused on organic growth, which is always a good sign. But they're not afraid to explore acquisitions either, which shows they're adaptable and strategic.
They're playing the long game, that's for sure. And speaking of strategy, let's talk about a company that's taking a very deliberate approach to growth. Zaggle. They're kind of like the consolidators of the fintech world, bringing together all these different financial services under one roof.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. They're creating this one-stop shop for all things finance. Need to file your taxes? They've got you covered. Need digital payment solutions? No problem.
It's like they're streamlining our financial lives, which, let's be honest, could use some streamlining. And they're onto something big here, right?
Absolutely. Think about it. India's tax base is growing every year. More and more people need help navigating the complexities of tax filing and saving.
which can be a nightmare, let's be real.
Exactly. And that's where Zaggle saw an opportunity. As their founder said, and I quote, "We see significant demand for platforms that provide comprehensive solutions for both tax filing and tax savings." End quote. They're addressing a real pain point, and investors clearly see the value in that.
Makes sense to me. All right, ready for one last company before we wrap up?
Always ready for another deep dive.
This one's all about sales, but not just any kind of sales, AI-powered sales with Zintlr.
Now, this is a company that's tapping into a need that businesses big and small have: accurate, actionable data.
Because knowledge is power, or at least in the sales world it is, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Zintlr is all about giving sales teams the insights they need to make better decisions, close deals faster.
So they're like the secret weapon for any sales team trying to stay ahead of the competition.
Exactly. And what I find most interesting is how they're democratizing access to these kinds of AI-driven tools.
Because in the past, this kind of tech was usually reserved for the big players, right?
Exactly. Smaller businesses often didn't have the resources to leverage these kinds of insights. But Zintlr is changing that, leveling the playing field.
So it's like they're giving smaller businesses a fighting chance in what can sometimes feel like a David and Goliath situation.
That's a great way to put it. It's about empowering businesses of all sizes to compete.
I like it. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about everything from home loans to healthcare, from sustainable farming to AI-powered sales.
It's been quite the journey. And such a diverse range of companies, too.
It really is. But I have to ask, are we seeing a larger trend here?
I think we are. It's like we're seeing the next evolution of the Indian startup ecosystem right before our eyes.
Okay, so what does that evolution look like? Give us the insights. What are the big takeaways from all these funding stories?
Well, one thing that stands out is the focus on B2B solutions. These companies aren't just going after individual consumers, they're targeting businesses.
Which makes sense when you think about it. Businesses need innovative solutions too. And in a rapidly growing economy like India, that need is only going to increase.
Exactly. And speaking of innovation, we can't ignore the elephant in the room, can we? Artificial intelligence is playing a major role in many of these companies.
It's like AI is the secret sauce everyone's adding to their recipes for success these days.
And it's not just hype. AI has the potential to solve some really big problems.
No doubt about it. But it's not all about algorithms and lines of code, is it? There's a human element to this too, right?
Absolutely. Take WayCool, for example.
Yeah.
Their story highlights the very real challenges of building a sustainable and ethical business, especially in a sector as complex as agriculture.
It's a good reminder that even with all the technology in the world, sometimes the biggest hurdles are the ones we've been grappling with for centuries.
So true. And that's why it's so encouraging to see companies like WayCool attracting investment. It shows that there's a growing appetite for businesses that are trying to make a positive impact.
It's like a sign that things are starting to change for the better. So, as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of Indian startups, what's a key message for our listeners?
I think the biggest takeaway is this. India is no longer just a hub for outsourcing or building apps. It's a hotbed of innovation, tackling global challenges with cutting-edge technology and a focus on making a real difference in the world.
It's a new era for Indian startups, and I have a feeling this is just the beginning.
I completely agree. The future's looking bright.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. To all our listeners out there, thanks for joining us on this exciting journey. Until next time, stay curious, my friends.